So, we'd like to welcome you to our discussion on dental implants, and I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Gene Sambatero. And Gene, I'm wondering, what got you interested in dental implants? I mean, you're a general dentist, so what attracted you to become involved in that?
Well, I've been practicing dentistry for 35 years, and many occasions I had considered doing implants. It was another, I think, very intricate part of dentistry that was going to require some additional training. I was already busy. I didn't really need a lot more new patients, but it kept coming back, and my patients were asking me why I wasn't doing the implant.
Right.
Especially when I generally would do the extraction. So I would do the extraction, and then I would refer them out to a local, usually a oral surgeon, to do the implant. And so I finally just thought that this was something patients really wanted. That was one reason. The other reason is that most of the surgeons aren't willing to do zirconia implants. It's the newest thing on the market. They've been around for probably at least 10 to 15 years in Europe. They've now been approved here for the last couple of years. So, and because that fit really more with our philosophy, it's more biocompatible. It's just a better product in terms of biocompatibility than the titanium implant.
Right.
So there was a couple of things. One, patients asking me to do it. Two, I have good surgical skills. Three, being able to do zirconia versus titanium. It just all kind of fit in, made sense. I took a course, really kind of learned more about it, and then became very interested in doing the comprehensive training.
So your background and experience has mostly been in biological dentistry. So there is more of an emphasis there, for example, to remove root canals, and when you do that, there's a blank space left.
Right.
So either the person goes without a tooth or they get an implant.
Yeah. So the options were really, we can replace that tooth with something called a removable partial denture or removable partial bridge, something the patient has to take in and out, they have to clean it. Two is a fixed bridge, which is cemented in, it's permanent, but also it can decay. So these were not the best alternatives, but I thought they were, because I didn't know how to do implants.
Of course.
So not understanding, but I think now, having done the training, I think the most important thing is that we're going to preserve bone. So for long-term preservation of bone, the only way you can do that is by placing an implant in there. Otherwise, the bone's going to continue to shrink. It's going to resorb with either a partial denture, which most people are not comfortable with, or a bridge. And the other disadvantage of bridge, you have to then prepare two other teeth to replace one tooth. As this one dentist mentioned, said that a bridge is a 3-tooth solution to a 1-tooth problem.
Gotcha.
Whereas an implant's a 1-tooth solution to a 1-tooth problem. So it just makes so much more sense.
You mentioned something about bone loss. I understand there's a fairly dramatic bone loss with the removal of a tooth.
Yeah, you're going to see, if you don't do bone preservation, so as you take the tooth out, just clean the socket out, don't put in bone grafting material.
Which is a typical procedure. That's what's generally done.
Yeah, it's quite often. You're going to see about a 40% loss in bone in the first 3 months.
And that's in the jaw.
In the jaw, yeah. So if you, at that point, did not do an implant, you're going to continue to see 10% bone loss over each decade of your lifetime. So there will be a point in time, if you had a tooth taken out when you're 30, by the time you're 80, you're not going to have enough bone to even do an implant.
Really?
So, but that's not horrible, because you can rebuild the bone. So, but what makes most sense, and what we're looking at now, is take the tooth out, clean the socket out, disinfect it, and place the implant immediately.
Right.
So you get no bone loss.
Right.
And it preserves the bone for a lifetime.
Right. You mentioned training. What was your training in dental implants?
Well, that's a good question, because I get these marketing pieces all the time that So you can come and within a 2-day weekend course, by Monday you can start placing implants.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did a pretty intensive over 130 hours of continuing education in implantology, including the live placement of implants in the Dominican Republic.
Uh-huh.
So I actually got live on-hand experience in placing implants,
Good,
which
good.
most courses couldn't do that. And the main reason they can't do that is that it would have to be in the state that you're licensed, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So if I took a course in Florida, I couldn't do live patient treatment because I don't have a license in Florida. So,
okay.
So one of the advantages. So it really worked out well. So I got the training, but it also allowed me to donate my services for free to the people of the Dominican Republic. So there was a group of us dentists, 31 other dentists, that we did over $1 million in implant placement in one weekend.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Gene, what is the single most important thing you do with dental implants that almost no one knows about?
Well, I think that, you mean from the public
Yeah,
in general?
from the public perspective, yes. And probably even many dentists.
Well, I think the bone preservation is a big factor. I didn't even really understand that fully until I took the course. I've been practicing 35 years. You know, how important it is to preserve that bone, and the only way you can do that, because the purpose of the bone is to hold something in. So once the tooth's out,
Right.
the bone has no function, so it starts to resorb.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably the most important thing, and the fact that maybe some dentists, well, most dentists will probably know this, but not fully. I said, once again, once I took the training, I never really thought about it. You can't get decay. Implants don't decay.
That's right, that's right.
And very rarely, a small percentage of them get gum inflammation around them. So you can almost eliminate, so you get bone preservation, you eliminate caries or cavities, and periodontal disease. And you got something that's perfectly functioning. And I'll tell you what, I've taken some implants out due to infections, not that I placed, and those things are ridiculously hard to get out.
Really?
Yeah. Now we've got some tools now from Germany that are going to simplify that.
Right.
In fact, I used one yesterday that made it very simple. And the only reason I bring that up is this: the level of integration between the implant and the bone is amazing. And so you've got something that's in there that's strong, it's preserving bone, doesn't get decay, doesn't get gum disease.
So all around, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
Right.
and then it's doing the other pieces that are bridge or partial. Teeth aren't shifting, they're not moving. You can function with it. So the forces that are generated on it, you know, are as good, if not better, than your own teeth.
Right, right. So what the vast majority of dentists do, as I understand, is they implant titanium. Why
Correct.
is that not necessarily the best solution?
Well, I guess like everything else in medicine, we don't find out sometimes the bad until later, although some are very suspicious, as with mercury fillings. We're now finding, even with titanium knee replacements and hip replacements, that titanium is reacting to the body's immune system.
Right, it's a metal.
It's a metal. So titanium, I mean, you might be okay, maybe you're not sensitive to it, but in many cases it's causing some chronic inflammatory problems. So same thing with the implants in the jaw.
Right. So what's used now instead of the titanium? What's the newest thing here?
Well, just like we went from metal fillings, we've gone to ceramic fillings. So now they have zirconia implants.
Which is a ceramic.
That's a ceramic material. It's still not perfect. It's not human body tissue,
Right.
but it's much more in terms of level biocompatibility, much greater.
Good.
So it fits in with our philosophy, is that we want to restore optimum oral health, but also not affect the whole body.
Right, the health of the whole body.
So we can restore function and biting and shifting of teeth by putting titanium in, but what's the effect of that on the rest of the body? So that's a consideration that, just as many dentists still believe mercury is safe, I can rest assured believe that most people think titanium, or most dentists believe titanium's okay.
Sure.
So, and it might be for a small number of people, but why? If you have another option, why would you
Exactly.
consider that?
Exactly.
So, and the reason you might is because the old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So if you've been doing titanium implants, for 10, 15, 20 years, you're not open.
Sure.
As I said in our opening part of the discussion, you said why, and that was one reason, because the local surgeons here aren't interested in learning how to do zirconia.
Right.
So that was an impetus for me to try and reach out and learn this process.